Hi guys! So, in addition to a Hobonichi Weeks, I also ordered an original, which I'm really excited about because I had one of these in 2015 and then last year I decided to go for the avec version. So it's been a year since I've had the nice little chunky full year version and I really missed it and I'm so excited that it's back. So, in case you are surprised that I only ordered 2 things from the Hobonichi website, fear not, I ended up placing a second order a couple of weeks later, and that has a whole bunch more stuff in it, which I will show you when it arrives. So, I don't know what I was thinking really. I was trying to be so restrained and modest in my Hobonichi purchases, but obviously that did not work out for very long. So, I'm always really surprised to see the Hobonichi original in real life because somehow it always looks smaller than I expect. I don't know why. I know that it's A6, but it's so tiny and adorable. I love it. Somehow the original, as in the full year version, has a very different feeling to me than the avec. So I'll just show you for comparison. This is my current avec, and I somehow feel like the avec is bigger, although it's not. I don't know what it is. It's an optical illusion. Maybe it's something about the colors. I really don't understand it. I use this for my daily planner, and that's what I'm going to use this one for as well. So because I don't put in washi tape or stickers really, I might put in the odd one, but not that much. There's not an issue of it getting too bulky over the year, and I like having the whole year together. That's, I think, one of the main appeals to me with Hobonichis in any kind of bound planner is sort of watching it grow with you over the course of the year. So let's have a look. There haven't been that many changes, but there have been a few changes from last year, so I'll just kind of quickly do a comparison and also go through it in case you've never seen an original up close before and would like to have more of an idea of what it looks like. So it has this creamy cardstock here, and the cover, by the way, is quite tough. You can hear this. This is definitely strong enough that you could just use it on your own. I wouldn't do that, for one, because it doesn't have a pen loop, and secondly, because there's so many cool covers that you can put them in that it seems like kind of a shame not to, and also because it does get damaged. You can see my avec is a little bit beat up, especially on the back, and it has been in a cover almost all the time. So if it wasn't in a cover, I imagine it would be pretty battered. But it is like nice and sturdy. And then the first page just says Hobonichi Techo 2017 original. And then we go into the yearly calendars. So this is a change that they've made from last year. If we compare it to last year, I know this is the avec version, but everything is identical, except for, I think, the number of notes pages at the back. So you can see in 2016, you just had the 2016 calendar on the left and the 2017 calendar on the right. So now they've added in the previous year. So you've got half the page for the previous year and then half the page for the upcoming year, which is the same as the weeks and the A5, the cousin. So that's all uniform now. So that makes sense. And the other change, which I like, is that last year and in the previous year, these were on gridded pages. You can see here there's a faint grid, whereas this year it's just plain. And again, this now matches the cousin and the week. So I kind of like that because being, very OCD where planners are concerned, I like the fact that all 3 of them now match. And also I don't really see the point of having gridded paper on here because you don't need the grids. It's just a calendar. You don't really write on it. And I think aesthetically it looks cleaner and nicer just to have the blank paper with the calendars. As usual, the Sundays are in red. This is the Monday start weeks I got because it matches all of my other planners. There is also a Sunday start available. Then we go into the vertical monthly spread, which I really like. You can use these for all kinds of different things. I don't use this at the moment the way that I'm using this planner because I use this as my daily planner, so it's just a daily to-do list, and sadly I don't use this spread or the month on 2 page spread. I'm kind of in the back of my mind trying to think of ways that I could use them, maybe for gratitude. When I was using this as a gratitude book, which it's also really good for, I use this to write down the highlight of the day every day, or a particular thing that I was like especially grateful for that day, just like one word. But obviously it's also very good for tracking, or as a kind of like overview of the year if you wanted to write down particular events that are happening that you want to stand out. And then it's got this little 4-line space at the top where you can note down headings or mark what you're going to be tracking. So it starts in December 2016, which is great if you want to start using this ahead of time, which most of us planner addicts do. And then it continues until March 2018. So it's nice because it gives you some space for forward planning if you are using this as a planner rather than a tracker. And it has the months in, it just has, in Japanese, so it has the number of the month. Then we get to the month on 2-page spread. And as I said, this is a Monday start. So if you had the Sunday start version, it would start with Sunday. It has this space on the left here where you can note down, anything, either particular things that have to be done sometime in that week, which I've sometimes done when I use this as a home planner, or other, like if you're using it as a gratitude journal, you can use this again for writing down particular highlights or something that you're looking forward to in the day. I've done that as well. And so we have the days of the week in English and Japanese, and Sundays are in red, and then Japanese holidays are in red as well. And you have a bit of space at the bottom here, sort of like wrapping around the side. The space in this, because this is just A6, it's quite small, so I have found that you can't really use this monthly spread for a huge amount of information. Like I said, when I was using this as a gratitude book, I would just note down the thing that I was most looking forward to that day, which it works for because you can write down a couple of words, but you can't really use it for detailed planning unless you have tiny handwriting. So this, again, let me just go back. This starts in December 2016. So from this perspective, you could start using this early, although the actual daily spread doesn't start until January 2017. So yeah, proceed at your own caution if you want to start using it early. And this goes until March 2018, my goodness. So a nice touch that they do with this planner and with the cousin is for the next year, so for 2018 in this case, they print 2018 in grey in big letters at the bottom so that there's no chance of you mixing up this February with February of 2017. You see, that's 2017, and then this is the 2018 one. So I think that's quite a nice touch. And then we start with the daily planner. So the A6 version is a daily planner. It doesn't have a weekly spread, which I think is a shame, because if it did have a weekly spread, then I think that would make it much more adaptable and flexible for use as a planner, if you like having a weekly spread, which I really do, and it wouldn't add in that much bulk. So I'm not sure why they don't do that, but they don't seem to be showing any signs of doing it. There is a weekly booklet that you can buy that's just the weekly spreads, but I don't like that because it's a little bit smaller. It's not actually A6 size. It's kind of like this, and it's designed to stick in the back of one of the Hobonichi pockets. And I know a lot of people really like it, but I just find it kind of annoying that it's not the same size and that it's not in the same book. But that is an option if you don't think that would bother you. So at the beginning of the daily pages, we have this page that says turning the page to a new year, and it's just a blank gridded page. So you can see up here that we have a dotted grid, and that's just kind of standard for the Hobonichi, which is really nice. And it gives you a 2-page spread, and it has a little calendar at the bottom. So you could use this for all kinds of things. You could use it for, like things like resolutions or goals for the year, or reflections on the previous year. I think that I might use this, well, it depends on what I was using the planner for. As I just use this as my daily planner, it's really, really just a daily to-do list. I don't actually need this, so I don't think I'll use it for anything. Although the sorts of things that I think that it would be useful for, like probably a goal list for the year, or the other possibility is for forward planning, because I like to have a space in the planner where I can note down things that are happening in the next year. And I know it would make more sense for that to be at the back of the book, but because you just have this and it's right at the beginning and it's easily locatable and it's a 2-page spread, it would be really easy to, you know, just kind of like block off sections, one per month, and use it for forward planning to note down things that are going to happen as you get towards the end of the year and you want to start noting down things that are going to happen in the next year where you don't have your next year's planner yet. So I think I would use it for that. Then we get this spread, which I really, really like. This was first introduced last year and they've like kind of tweaked it a bit this year. So you have this colored line at the top, and obviously one of the classic design features of the Hobonichi, the A5 and the A6, is that every month has a different color. So you can see here the gridded paper and the little headers and the tabs on the side are a different color per month, and these stay the same every year, which I think is nice because that means that if you use the Hobonichi year after year, you kind of get familiar with the different colors and you're like, oh, it's January, oh, it's April, and you know, you identify them with the color and you kind of start building up a sort of color memory that you associate with each month, and I really like that. And it's also the same in the A5 and the A6. So for example, here is my cousin. So this is December, and sorry, not December, October. And so you can see here October 2017 in the A6 is the same color, and I really like that. It's again, it's sort of that consistency so that you feel like you have this unified system if you have more than one different variety of Hobonichi. It's a shame that the weeks doesn't do that. I think that it would be a nice touch if the weeks did that. Anyway, back to this page. So something new that they've added here, if we compare it to last year's, is they've added this little bar at the top where it has the name of the month, and then it has like this kind of colored strip that's in the same color but a paler version. And I think that that's really nice. I was initially hoping that it would kind of eliminate the need for tabs. I don't use tabs in this one, but in my A5 I do use tabs for the monthly indexes. And I thought that maybe if this was colored, you'd be able to see it really easily from the side and just flip to it. But that doesn't actually seem to be the case. If you see here, I can't really see them. So I don't think that they're very useful in that sense, but it's quite a nice touch. I think aesthetically it looks nice. And another change is, so you've got the month here in English and Japanese, and in the old one you had the number there and then the month there. So they've just kind of split it a bit. So they've got the name of the month here and then the number. And then it says remember this, and that's the same as last year, but the layout is different. So let me put these next to each other. So the old one had dotted lines. The new one has solid lines, and they also extend a bit further, and you've got more of them, it looks like. They extend a bit further down the page. I think there's one more line, but because they are wider as well, it has the effect of giving you a lot more writing space. So in my A5, I use these as an index. When I was using the A6 as a gratitude journal, I used this to put down my goals for the month, or my kind of like wishes for the month. And then it starts in with the daily pages. So as usual, you have your 5 checkboxes at the top, which you can use for your top 3, your top 5, or highlights of the day, or meal planning, or whatever. And that's one of the things that I love about the Hobonichi, is that it's very, very flexible. So it gives you all of this stuff which you can use or you can ignore. So if you don't really want the top 5, you can just leave that blank. But you know, if you want it, then you can use it for all kinds of different things. So it has the month and the day is in slightly bigger numbers than the month. And then it has the day of the week in Japanese, and it has the moon phase, and it lists the day of the year, which is kind of cool. So that's the first day of the year. And then it has the same dot grid, and it has a line like this, a solid line about a third of the way through the page, which you could either use to separate your timed appointments from tasks and whatever else, notes, or you can just ignore it. Now, about the only difference that I can see here is, and they mentioned this in their list of new features for 2017, they've made the numbers here a bit bigger and a bit bolder, which I was kind of worried about because I don't actually use these. I personally don't find this timeline very useful because it is technically a 24-hour timeline, which you'd think would be awesome, but because it's so small, they don't give you numbers for every hour. They only give you a number for every 3 hours, and the other two numbers are dots. And it's only hourly. It's not half hourly, as the cousin is in the weekly spread of the cousin, and also the weekly spread in the little weekly booklet that you can get to go with this. So I don't actually find this timeline very useful because it's like it's not detailed enough for anything that I would want to use it for, and I always just ignore it and write over it. So as you can see, I just put checkboxes here and ignore the numbers. So I was kind of worried that it wouldn't be possible to do that anymore now that this is like kind of bolder, but I actually think the difference is pretty subtle. I'm not sure how well you can see the two of them, but you can see it is looks a bit bigger, maybe a bit bolder, but I think it will still be possible to ignore them if you want to do that. And then everything else looks the same to me. I think on the website they'd said that they'd like kind of changed the design of this box at the top to make the numbers more prominent, but I can't see any difference here. And then it just carries on. So as usual, holidays, Japanese holidays are marked in this sort of pale version of the same color, and I really like that because again I think it's easy to ignore, but it adds a nice aesthetic touch. And because this is a daily planner, obviously, you know, it just keeps going. So I think that this works fantastically as a daily planner for obvious reasons. You don't have the weekly layout, but if it's a daily planner, then you don't need the weekly layout. And then you have the quotes at the bottom. And you also have the calendar, so it shows you where you are in the month. I never use this. For some reason, I just forget that it's there, even if it would actually be kind of useful to know where I am in the month. I just always forget that all of the stuff at the bottom, I think my brain just blocks out. So every month you get this little kind of like tab at the top here where, you know, the colored bit and the remember this. And as usual, it lies absolutely flat, which is just one of the many amazing features of the Hobonichi. And carries on until the end of December 2017. And it stops on December 31st, 2017. And then you have some blank gridded pages, which you can use for notes or anything. So there are quite a few. This is, as far as I can tell, the only difference between the full year version of the A6 and the Avec version is that the Avec version doesn't have many notes pages. I think it has 3 notes pages in the first volume, the January to June volume, and then it has like literally 1 page for the July to December volume. That's it. So that is something that I like, that I sort of prefer in the full year version. And then you have a timetable, 2 timetables in fact, 1 on each page. Some graph paper, which is good for like if you are making charts or something, like a yearly chart if you wanted to track something. I never use this, but there are 2 of these. And then you have these, you have like 4 pages of this favorites list, which could be useful for making short lists of different categories. I don't actually use this, but I always have in the back of the mind that I should really figure out something to use it for. You could use it for meal planning because it's got 4 spaces, or like 3.5 spaces per box. So you could use it for like weekly meal planning, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you'd have quite a few variations on that. And then this is new. I don't remember seeing this last year, my 100, and I think that this looks really cool. So it's got 100 lines. These are solid lines, and every 10 is sort of like highlighted in a circle, and then it has a checkbox. It's like a dotted checkbox for every one. and then it says title. And I just think the possibilities for this are endless. They're so endless that I have no idea what to do with it, and I'm kind of paralyzed by indecision because it's just so cool. But obviously you could use this for all kinds of different things, and I really like the fact that it's there. I think this is great. This is actually really useful. Then there is a map of Japan, which I like as well, and this is also a new edition. And then this information about cats and dogs, which I think I've heard people talking about this. It's something, obviously I can't read Japanese, so I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sorry. But it's some kind of a website that has to do with cats and dogs. And then you have the animals, which they've had previously. And some things like age charts, which is like you look up the year that somebody was born and then it tells you how old they are this year, which I think is also kind of cool. I don't really use any of these, but I think this one is just, I don't know, I like it. And then it has gifts to and from and addresses for 6 people. Obviously you could use this for other things as well. It's just a, you know, chart, which is kind of useful. And then there's one notes page here. And then you have the serial number here. And then cardstock. And that's the back. So I'm really happy to have an original again. I have like 50 million different covers for this. They're actually not from the Hobonichi shop. They're all different kinds of like Fodoris and things like this one. And I'm just going to switch them in and out. So I'm really, really happy to have an original. Let me know if you have any questions about this that I didn't cover in the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.